Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Last episode, we met our main duo, Edward and Alphonse. Hopefully I'm saying that name right. We met other characters such as Führer Bradley, Roy Mustang, Isaac the Freezing, rest in peace, I guess. Kind of not, he was kind of a jerk, but... And then a couple other characters, Kimberly, who was the flame guy in prison, Big Man Armstrong, who I already think is pretty cool. And yeah, we just got like a very basis of the world building. A lot of action in the last episode. I expect in this one, maybe we're gonna slow it down and give us a little bit more context for what's going on in the world. So without further ado, if you want to check out the next episode, episode 3 is available on my Patreon in the Soul tier by the time this comes out on YouTube. Episode 4 and maybe even episode 5 is available in Ascended tier. I'm not sure how far ahead we are on that, but we're going to be getting there pretty soon anyway. So be sure to head over to Patreon for an ad-free, completely clear viewing experience. The videos will not look like this on Patreon. They'll look a little bit more like this. So if that interests you, then go ahead and check it out. Episode 2, thanks for joining me. Let's start. Understanding, decomposing, and reconstructing matter. Right. Interesting. Human transmutation. I have a feeling I know 2 people that committed that. I know they had mentioned something about equivalent exchange in the last episode, but I wasn't sure exactly what that had meant. But it's interesting. Maybe he's just a good magician. Xerxes. Interesting. So he did lose a leg as well. Episode 2, the first day. I wonder if alchemy is something like just anybody can do, or you have to be special, maybe. No, Mom. You're encouraging a very serious accident. Uh-oh. Oh, that's awful. Do these kids not have, like, grandparents or something that can look after them, or are they just kind of on their own now? Yeah. Oh. Ooh. Yeah, no, that seems... I might see where the problem's happening. Alrighty. I just like him. I love milk. Excuse me? What? Winry. I've heard that name before too, actually, I think. Now that I think about it.
それにして してもシチューを発明した人は偉大だ。牛乳が入ってるのにあんなにうまい。なんだよそれ。野菜
Milk is good, man. Just accept it.
考えがすげえよ。科学者にもそういう発想の転換が必要だな。そんなもんかな。そうさ。人体錬成もきっとそういう発想が必要なんだよ。
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a parent myself, obviously, and nor do I want to be one anytime soon. But something I've noticed throughout watching a lot of different types of shows, as kids are growing up, you have to be very careful on the sort of types of behavior you encourage. Because I think everything has to be done within limits. Not to get too specific about another show, but one specific example I can recall is a kid who was sort of born for greatness. And if you tell kids that they're too great at something, or that they're overly smart or intelligent or athletic or whatever that may be, that can be a great confidence booster, but it can also encourage some really negative side effects, right? Things like arrogance, naivety, and just a general lack of caution when it comes to things that could potentially be dangerous. I don't think that Edward or Alphonse necessarily acquired any bad traits from this sort of thing, except for the fact that maybe they're a bit too curious for their own good. And by no means is it Edward or Al's fault that they have no parents to guide them. I mean, their mom passed away and their dad was never there, so this just kind of is coming across as an accident that was almost destined to happen whenever you get two kids that are so curious and so potentially talented from what it seems. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just kind of a ticking time bomb with this sort of thing.
それから俺たちは母さんを蘇らせるために人体錬成について調べ、錬金術の先生のもとで腕を磨いた。何年も何年もかかったけど、母さんの笑顔を見たい。母さんとまた楽しく暮らしたい。
I mean, you would think, especially under an alchemy instructor, that at some point throughout the years they would realize that human, transmutation is a very taboo and bad thing to do. But people do foolish things when they're desperate. Or when they really, really want something, you know?
できた。水35リットル。
No, don't do it. The sky is blood red. It's a bad sign. Don't do it.
石灰 1.5 キログラム。
Everyone knows that's a bad omen in anime.
塩分250グラム。硝石100グラム。硫黄80グラム。フッ素7.5グラム。鉄5グラム。ケイ素3グラム。
These are like the components to a human body, perhaps.
よし、構築式を書くぞ。
The sort of equivalent exchange that you would need.
魂の情報だ。行くぞ、ある。
These poor kids, man, they don't know what they're doing.
兄さん、なんか変だよ。
Call it off. Cancel it. I mean, obviously it's not gonna happen, but... Rebound. Jesus, what a traumatizing thing.
ある。あれ、俺何してたんだっけ。
よ
誰。
おお、よくぞ聞いてくれました。俺はお前たちが世界と呼ぶ存在。
The world.
あるいは宇宙、あるいは神、あるいは真理、あ
Whoa.
るいは善、あるいは一。そして俺はお前だ。ようこそ身の程知らずのバカ野郎。うるさいな。お前が欲しがってたものだろ。見せてやるよ、真理を。
Wow. This just took a crazy turn, like out of nowhere.
ものすごい量の情報を直接頭にぶち込まれたみたいだった。
Getting overloaded with like information. And maybe that's what he got in exchange for this transmutation.
頭が割れそうだった。だけど唐突に理解した。これが真理。
どうだった
Okay, wow. So this just took a pretty serious turn. I mean, obviously, I knew this was going to happen to some degree. Like, there was going to be the failed experiment of human transmutation that would cause them to lose their bodies and their arm and leg and all that. But the second I saw the eye open up on the floor in the circle, I kind of immediately, the thought crossed my mind of like, it's not just like a law of equivalent exchange. Like, it's not like something disappears and something reappears. Like, it's not quite so simple like that. The eye immediately made me think that there's some sort of like being or beings or something, some third party that might be doing the act of exchanging. And then here we come and we meet this sort of like omnipotent being sort of thing sitting in the room. It's calling itself God. And then Edward gets filled with all sorts of memories of truth, or he gets overloaded with knowledge. I'm sort of thinking that this knowledge is sort of like the payment that's being made for the body of Alphonse and his arm and all that, and Edward's arm. It's either that or that the law of equivalent exchanges has to be a lot more specific. Like, I don't know if there's a physical offering you can give to exchange for knowledge, right? Unless it was to be like you would lose knowledge to gain knowledge or something. But honestly, I'm not really sure what's going on, so let's keep watching.
俺の人体錬成理論は間違っちゃいなかった。でも足りないんだ。もう少し先に俺の求めているものが人体錬成の真理があった。お願いだ。もう一度見せてくれ。ダメだね。
これだけの通行料だとここまでしか見せられない。
通行料。
そう、通行料。
Yeah. Nothing's free, right?
なんだろう？錬金術師。
Jeez, man. Wouldn't you straight up die from like a clean arm and leg sever, right? From all the blood you'd lose, especially as a kid. You like arteries that go through that. Oh, hell no. Yeah. Oh, so he actually did alchemy to save his brother's life, or to attach his soul to the armor. Wow. Yeah, that was a lot to process. I feel like I actually maybe should go back and rewatch that at some point. Maybe I will after the episode ends. Yeah, that was just crazy. That was really dark. I'm surprised that Edward is able to have any sort of mental stability at all after not only losing his own arm and leg, not losing his entire brother's body, witnessing whatever that vision of God was, or of God, I should say, because we don't really know what it is, or I don't know what it is. And on top of whatever the abomination that, all I can say is I really hope that wasn't his mom, like a weird twisted version of her body, which is probably, you know, rotted and gone by now since she was buried. I'm really interested to see if that has like any sort of like lasting trauma on him throughout the show, because I mean in that situation I would be messed up. So poor kid, man.
ところで、エロリック兄弟はどうしてる？
俺はあいつらの保護者じゃない。
なあ、なんだってエドを国家錬金術師にしたんだ。
Oh, interesting. Roy is the one responsible for that.
軍にいる以上。
Roy can't be that much older than the teenagers.
地獄なら見たさ。二人とももう十分にな。
Right. I think what they witnessed is probably much more intense than anything they've seen thus far in the military.
中佐、裏にもいます。これは
どこだ？エリリック兄弟とやらはどこにいる？
How would they even survive what happened to them?
お客さんにはちょっとあんた軍人がいきなりなんだ。
She is absolutely tiny.
君たちの家に行ったぞ。なんだあのありさまは。 何を作った？
Yeah.
ごめんなさい。許してください。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Yeah.
ごめんなさい。
君は驚きました。優れた錬金術師がいると聞いて訪ねてきたのですが、まさかこんな子供が不完全とはいえ人体錬成を行い魂の定着まで成し遂げるとは。
Yeah, so clearly
国家錬金
he
術
has
師
a
に
lot
な
of
る資
talent.
質が十分あります。国家錬金術師になると有事の際は兵士として働くことになりますが、同時に様々な特権や最高レベルの研究が可能となる。
Roy doesn't look like he's changed a whole lot over the
こ
years.
の子たちが元の体に戻る方法も、あるいは
この子が血まみれで転がり込んできた後にね、私はこの子たちの家に行ったのさ。あれは人間なんかじゃなかった。
Yeah.
あんな恐ろしいものを作るのが錬金術なのかい？私は反対だね。また地獄を見ろってのかい、この子たちに。
リザでいいわ。リザ・ホークアイ。
Riza. Meeting a lot of characters in these first 2 episodes.
リザさんは
Normally I'm pretty good with remembering names though, so hopefully there's no issue. Also, what?
行くかどうかはあの子たちが自分で決めることよ。そう、 自分で決めること。
強制はし
I
ない。
hope that's true.
ただ私は可能性を提示する。
進むのかとどまるのか。
絶望のまま一生を終えるか、可能性を求めて軍に神戸を垂れるか。
それを決めるのはあの子たち自身。
そこに可能性があるならば、元の体に戻るために前に進むべきだろう。たとえそれが泥の川だったとしても。
I can't help but feel that Roy is being like pretty predatory here. This is a pretty like common thing, even like in today's military, to recruit people that are really young, especially people that have had like a really hard time growing up. He's saying stuff like, you know, if you've already given up, if you want to have a path forward, will you end your days in despair? And these kids are 11 years old at this point. So yeah, even though they went through something horrible, like I'm sure at least, I mean, maybe I won't be able to speak on part by Alphonse considering the situation his body's in, but Edward could still lead a pretty normal, healthy, non-traumatic life despite what he's went through already. So it's pretty predatory. Even if I think Roy might have good intentions, I can't quite tell. But when he says stuff like, even though the way ahead of you is through a river of mud, he's kind of already, he's obviously acknowledging the fact that the brothers will have to go through some real serious shit, but I can't help but feel that at least initially he's doing it for the better of the military and not for the kids. And then it makes it worse when you consider the fact that obviously Ed and Al are in a very vulnerable state emotionally, not only just because they're young, but because they're obviously traumatized by what they've had to go through. The brothers aren't in a good mental state to even properly make this choice in a healthy way. Even if Riza is saying that the boys have the choice, how much of a choice do they really have? Yeah, they are just not. They're not ready to make that call.
リザさんはなぜ軍人になったの？守るべき人がいるから。
帰るぞ。
はい。
I hope they didn't demand an answer out of them already.
お嬢さん。ウィンリーです。そう、ウィンリーちゃん。また会えるといいわね。来るでしょうか。
Some sort of future development being set up
あ
there.
の少年、無気力な目をしてましたけど。
そうかね。あれは火のついた目だ。
Even if that's true, I still think it might be taking advantage of the fact that he's in a very vulnerable emotional state.
もう決めたことだから。
Even if it's a
手術
different
とリハ
emotion.
ビリでどれぐらいかかる？
I mean, I'm sure it's probably not that great living in a suit of armor, but I wonder if he can even like feel pain.
もう体は完璧だね。
おう、あとは錬金術だ。あれ以来使ってないからな。
そっか。僕の魂を錬成した時。
Oh, you're gonna make him feel so guilty. Oh, maybe not. He's probably already accepted it by now.
なんでもない。
私のオートメール返金させて。俺の頭は返金してもいいのかよ。
That's it. Roll the credits.
可愛げのねえ機械
Permanent brain damage.
ふーん。
They are ready for the disdain for authority, maybe. Especially considering he didn't really grow up with too many adult figures in his life.
いらないよ、そんなもん。
錬成陣もなしに。これはなかなか。
It's pretty badass. Oh man.
っていう風に要人暗殺があるかもしれないからさ。この試験方法を見直した方がいいんじゃない？
Wow, that's a really risky, bold move, but I'm sure he respects that, right? It's like a very militaristic government. Yeah. What kind of alchemy does he have? He seems to almost have something like extreme speed or time manipulation, maybe.
背面症と細かい記憶はこれと大総統も随分とまた皮肉な目を。
何？
いや、おめでとう。これで君も晴れて軍の犬だ。
An official dog in the military. The Fullmetal Alchemist. Interesting. It's a pretty cool title.
国家錬金術師に与えられる2つが、君が背負うその名は鋼の錬金術師。
It's pretty cool.
いいね、その重苦しい感じ。
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect for an angsty teenager like him. He's got like good angst though, you know? There's like good and bad. I'm sure it'll have some sort of bad repercussion, but for now it's pretty cool. Alright, so this was a pretty good episode. I actually think I might prefer this over the first episode. We got a bit of a backstory on the whole accident or incident that happened with the human transfiguration taboo magic that Ed and Al attempted at some point when they were younger. There's a lot of really interesting things that happened that I don't think I can fully grasp yet, especially with the sort of being that appeared before Ed. Ed seemed to have gained a bunch of knowledge, and I don't think we fully know what the extent of that knowledge is just yet. So I want to say we're basically all caught up to where we are in the first episode. They are recruited by Roy Mustang into the military. We also met Winry, which is their childhood friend, as well as Ryza, which I can only assume is just like an assistant or another member of the military along with Roy. Winry seems to be like the mechanic, the person that put together Ed's arm. We've got some short training. What I worry about is that while they do seem to have a bit of held back and repressed trauma from the incident, it doesn't necessarily seem like Ed fully grasps like what he did. The concerning part I see is that it doesn't really seem that rather than having like regret and realizing that maybe I shouldn't have done the taboo alchemy, he seems to more have taken on the approach of I didn't do it right, or I overlooked something, or I didn't have enough knowledge to do it the first time. So now on this journey, they need this philosopher's stone, which it still hasn't fully explained what exactly that is besides a sort of alchemy enhancer. Maybe that's what I got from it. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. No spoilers, of course. But we have the primary objective. So now we have something that is the call to action, military work while they search for the sorcerer's stone. What is this, Harry Potter? While they search for this philosopher's stone, they'll be working their way through the military, probably uncovering some of the dark stuff along the way. Overall, looks pretty good. I'm excited for the journey they have ahead of them. I see that being the only time skip we're probably going to get for at least a good while, so. And also where along the line Alphonse learns to use alchemy, because he used it in the first episode, but he said he couldn't do it in the second here. So I'm sure that'll come along at some point too. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, tell me what you thought, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Later.